Now, there's been a lot of people who never wished President Bola Tinubu becoming Nigeria's president. In fact, they did not hide their feelings. They went to the street, not only in this country, but outside of this country. But it does look like a lot of activities or a lot of water has gone under the bridge. And in that sense, some of them, maybe they are born again or they've changed their mind, but it's something that they now believe in to make them now think that President Bola Tinubu, they wish never become president, and now president, and they're totally in support. One of them is an ex-aide to a former president, Goodluck Jonathan, an author and a columnist, Mr. Reno Omokri, who is being a defiant critic of President Bola Tinubu prior or leading up to the 2023 elections. And in fact, he was one of those who went on a shame him protest in London and at the Chatham House. Now, Mr. Omokri is one of those who is singing the praises of President Bola Tinubu and defending some of the policies of the government. Mr. Omokri is live for us virtually from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Omokri, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Are you a born-again Bola Tinubu follower, or where did the change happen?
Well, there's a saying, results cancel insults. You have to understand something there. We had a manifesto, which I was a part of putting together. That's the People's Democratic Party Presidential Manifesto. We said we're going to do certain things. The first, we're going to remove fuel subsidy. The second, we're going to float the naira. The third, we're going to devolve power from the federal government down to the local levels. And then we're going to have student loans. All of these four things that we said we're going to do, President Bola Tinubu is doing them. And he began doing them on day one. Like I told you, results cancel out insults. So when I saw the results that the president was doing, I decided that, okay, this is a man to be supported. You got to recall, Nigeria is our goal. And we are goal-oriented. I'm a goal-oriented person. So when I see that the goal that I had is being promoted by the president, why should I fight him? He's doing exactly the things that we said we're going to do. And it all goes back to his political roots. His political roots are the Social Democratic Party. And you got to remember that our own presidential candidate, Waziri Atiku Abubakar, had his political roots in that party. So they are both progressive. So it's not surprising that at the end of the day, they said we're going to do the same thing. And when we saw that this man is delivering results, not activity, I think it's wrong for anybody not to support him, because Nigeria is our goal.
In December of 2022, you were one of those who went to the street, and it was hashtag harass Tinubu out of London. And there were a lot of things you said, unprintable words. I may not be able, because of regulatory rules and all that I may not be able to say. You called the president, the then candidate of the APC, unprintable names. You say that he does stuff that are criminal. You said a lot of things about him. Have you changed your mind about what you know about him, or what prompted you? You said part of what prompted you to start supporting him, but as a man you knew before then, has it changed now?
You have to understand that I am probably the most meticulous fact finder in Nigeria. September 19th, 2022. Prior to that date, a lot of people had said President Bola Tinubu, as he then was a candidate, that he did not graduate nor attend Chicago State University. Now, what did I do? I'm sure you remember, Sheon. I did not just join them in saying that he did not go to Chicago State University. I actually physically went to Chicago State University. I went there and I verified that the man went to Chicago State University. And I was being interviewed on Arise TV, and the Arise TV interviewer, Sheon, you remember that video? He was insisting, this is even before that December protest, he was insisting that President Bola Tinubu did not attend Chicago State University. And I said, no, I had been there and I verified that he attended. So that was way back before. I think that interview was in November. I was in Peru. And then subsequently, I did the protest at Chatham House because of my party. I was a party man. My party had talked to me. We said, look, we needed to have a protest. And as a party man, I did that protest. Subsequently, we went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court invalidated everything that we did that protest for. I don't want to repeat the reason why we did that protest. You know, it had to do with a judgment in Chicago. And then we had that judgment go all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, no, this is not what the judgment said. This is what the judgment said. And so because of that decision, decision by the Supreme Court, I had to, just like I dropped and I let's say I neutralized that allegation against the president, I also neutralized what we did at Chatham House. So you have to understand, everything I do follows facts.
That was not the only thing. It was not about his educational background that you were agitating about and you went to the street. There's a particular thing that you said and which you know.
Yeah, that is what I addressed. I mean, maybe you're not listening to me.
I did.
That particular issue, it stemmed from a Chicago court. And the Supreme Court, it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the interpretation that maybe the general public, of which I was, gave it is not what it was. I mean, I could go further, although I would not like to mention it. It said that the charges and the conviction were not against the candidate, Bola Tinubu, at that time. It was against certain accounts. And just as I was able to drop the Chicago issue when I went and verified, after that judgment, I dropped that. Because you have to follow facts. You cannot follow emotions. Emotions are unstable, facts are stable.
But in all of this, at a time, you do not believe in the capacity, either mental, educational, or even a political capacity of the then candidate of the APC, as it then was, the candidate of the APC, was not the president of Nigeria, compared to the likes of Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi.
No, that's not accurate. No, that's not accurate. Please go back.
You didn't think.
I always said it is accurate. It is accurate for Waziri Atiku Abubakar. But if you go back, even during the campaigns, I always said that candidate Bola Tinubu was better than Peter Obi. I never said that Peter Obi was better than him. So that statement is correct.
So is it a factual for you now? And because you like to talk about facts and data, would you say, considering, I watched an interview with Mr. Peter Obi on another television who was talking about the things that this president has done and the fact that they could have been done in a more organized way. Some similar policy decision as enshrined in their different manifestos, but it was badly handled by the APC and the Bola Tinubu government. Do you see all the view that the president and his party, APC, are better, or, I mean, Peter Obi is not better than them in terms of how they envision these ideas?
I still hold that view that the president is by far better than anything Peter Obi would have done. And we can go into specifics. What Peter Obi was talking about the president doing that the president mishandled was false subsidy. And Peter Obi was being clever by half, because after he gave that interview, I brought out another interview that he had given. Incidentally, that interview was on Channels, where he told the public that if he was elected as president, false subsidy would go immediately. He said it, immediately. So what did the president do? The president took out fuel subsidy on day one, immediately. So how would he have done it differently from the president? I mean, he was being dishonest, because there is nothing that the president would have done that he would have done. Because he said he was going to remove fuel subsidy immediately, which is what the president did. And if you look at the World Bank, if you look at the IMF, these guys have said that what the president did was right. It brought some pains, but it was a necessary decision. But let's assume that these Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank and the IMF, maybe they are new colonialists. So let's take them aside. What about Moody's? What about Fitch? In the whole world, Fitch is the #1 ratings agency. And Fitch has upgraded Nigeria to a stable B positive, because they said the reforms by the Bola Tinubu administration are working, especially the removal of fuel subsidy and the flotation of the naira. After they did that, that was last year, I think that was on December 17th. And then soon afterwards, Moody's followed, and they upgraded Nigeria. Now, you can see that the reforms, especially the removal of fuel subsidy and the flotation of naira, are working. This gentleman met the debt profile for Nigeria for $108 billion. Right now, as I speak to you, our debt is now $94 billion. So $14 billion are reduction in our debt. And it's not just with the federal government. All states, almost all states have reduced their debt load. Why? Because the federal allocation to the states has increased, in some cases doubled, in some cases tripled. So because of the removal of fuel subsidy, we are seeing tangible actions. So I completely disagree with Peter Obi. Peter Obi, as governor of Anambra, is the only governor in the last 26 years that increased poverty in Anambra. The two governors before him did not increase poverty. The governor after him did not increase poverty, but Peter Obi increased poverty. So he does not have the moral authority to talk. And then he said something about, criminality. Look, of all the major presidential candidates in the last election, only one person was indicted by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalism for fraud, and that was Peter Obi in the Pandora Papers, where he was accused of illegally taking money out of Nigeria and putting it in foreign accounts. Recently, in that same interview, he said that he left $150 million and 36 billion naira into the Anambra State coffers. That is actually a lie. This is a man that left 127 billion naira debt. Please, you can fact check me. And if you quantify the debt with the money that he left behind, the debt was more than what he left behind. And even what he left behind, some of it he claimed was in assets. For example, he said that he had invested some of the Anambra State government money in Interfax breweries. And if you go back and look, he invested, I think it was about $12 million. Today, that $12 million investment at Interfax breweries is now worth $5 million. And even the worst part of it is that the money that he said he kept them in his in a bank in which he has substantial shares, about 10% shares. So that means that money was earning interest for that bank, so that money was going into his own pocket. So Peter Obi does not have the moral right to criticize President Bola Tinubu.
So you talked about Atiku Abubakar, and you said the only person you think that out of the two, that you think Bola Tinubu is better off is Peter Obi. But what about Atiku Abubakar? Is Bola Tinubu better than Atiku Abubakar?
I am not going to criticize Waziri Atiku Abubakar, and I'm not going to compare him with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What I will just say is that if an election is held today, tomorrow, or in 2027, I will vote for and I will mobilize people to vote for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Waziri Atiku Abubakar has been good to me. He has been very good to me. He's been a friend of mine. So he was not like a boss. He's been a friend of mine. I'm going to tell you a little anecdote. We were to have a meeting in London, and I thought that I had food poisoning. I didn't know what was happening to me. I thought I was going to die. I was in a terrible way, health-wise. But then everybody at that meeting said, no, Reno, you got to come. You are the ideologue of the People's Democratic Party. We are planning our campaign to unseat President Buhari. You have to come. I spoke to Waziri Atiku Abubakar and I said, look, I'm sick. I don't know what's the matter with him. I'm about to go to a doctor. Waziri Atiku Abubakar said, please come, Reno. So in that condition, I left my home in California, I flew into London, and then I gave my presentation, and I was going to go back to the airport to leave from London back to California. And Waziri said, no, please stop, Reno. You're not going to California. And then he arranged for me to see a doctor at Knightsbridge. The meeting was at Knightsbridge. He arranged for me to see a doctor at Knightsbridge. He paid for that doctor. This man went over and beyond. And at the end of the day, when I went and saw the doctor, it just turned out that it was a minor thing. They call it shingles. But I did not know about it because it was so minor. But for that act of kindness and other acts of kindness that this man has done to me, I'm not going to criticize him.
At what point did you back out for someone you think that is a benefactor to you?
I am not going to back out of someone that is being a benefactor to me. No. And that's not what happened.
But you have chosen sides. You were supporting Atiku Abubakar up until now that you have changed your mind and you started supporting Bola Tinubu.
Allow me land. You see, I am in supporting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I have not attacked Waziri Atiku Abubakar. If you go back, a lot of people, I think Shegun Showumi was recently on the program. He might have said one or two things that were not complimentary to Waziri Atiku Abubakar. I have never done that. Before I went on a record publicly to say that I am for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I had a conversation with Waziri Atiku Abubakar, and I told him, I said, listen, sir, this is what I'm going to do. This is why I'm going to do it. But I respect my relationship with you. And the man was stunned. And because of that, I didn't quarrel with him. He didn't quarrel with me. We talk all the time. We just finished Salah. You will not believe it. We exchange Salah gifts and Salah greetings. He maintains that good relationship with me. I can bring my phone and show you the conversations that we have. We share jokes. So this man is a proponent of politics without bitterness.
So are you a member of the APC now?
I'm not a member of the APC.
Are you a member of the PDP?
Well, I'm a member of the PDP because I paid membership dues for the PDP for 4 years. So I'm a member of the PDP. However, I am a supporter of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I will support him to the hilt. If he's going to contest the election in 2027, I will work for him.
Let me ask you, in all of this, there are a lot of people who react, and I know the way you take on your online and social media critics. Some of them have called you several names, and I would like to put some of those names to you so that you, maybe you muted some of their comments or you did not see them. I'd like you to be able to react to some of them. They've called you disloyal. They say that you are lacking integrity. They say you're a sycophant. They say you lack no ideology. Now, if you were on that side, all of a sudden, something changed. In fact, some of them are accusing you, quotes. They said you are looking for something. Hunger. They say that it is something for your tummy that you're looking. These are some of the words in which they have used to describe you.
Okay, so let's start with disloyal. Former President Jonathan, in his book, Transition As, he called me the most loyal person in his government. You could read that book. He praised me as the most loyal person in his government. Former President Jonathan. Former President Jonathan and I are close like brothers. He's come to spend 10 days with me in California, former President Jonathan. 10 days with me in California. He's not probably having good relations with some of his spokesmen. I was one of his spokesmen. I am the only one that he has good relationship with. Why? Now, from President Jonathan, because he did not contest again, our party produced Waziri Atiku Abubakar. So it was natural for me as a member of that party to support Waziri Atiku Abubakar. And until today, Waziri Atiku Abubakar and I are still good friends. We talk. We talked, give me a second, I think we communicated, was that 3 days ago? And even before that, we have regular communications. Waziri Atiku Abubakar has come out publicly to say that some persons were disloyal. He has come out to attack them after they went and supported President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has never said that about me. Now, we go over to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Since I began to support him, I've given unequivocal support. So who have I been disloyal to? Who? The 3 people that I've been working with at this level, all of them have vouched for my loyalty. So are you now going to say that it is one person on social media that doesn't even know my relationship with these people that will gauge my loyalty? No. And then in terms of hunger, listen, I was voted as the most successful and influential business person in Africa by the #1 business magazine in the whole world, Business Insider. I have the most paid subscribers of anybody in Africa on X. Now, if you recall, you interviewed me some other time, Sheon, and I did tell you, I showed you how much I paid in taxes, just taxes. And I told you, I said, look, I give anybody, including my enemies, that they can go and fact check me. These are public documents. So with the amount of money I paid, I don't know if you remember how much I paid in taxes that I showed you. It was a large amount of money. So, I mean, even this month alone, just this month, I'm going to earn at least $10,000 from X. At least $10,000 from X for my subscribers. Money is not my problem. The kind of house I live in the United States and I live in the United Kingdom, the way I travel, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if you follow me, I travel all around the world. I've been doing this consistently for more than a decade. So that issue is
what do you do to earn a living? Because there are those of them who are saying that you are being paid for the support that you are getting. I mean, that you are giving.
Okay, so who was paying me? Who was paying me in between 2015 and 2023 when I was traveling?
So nobody has given you any money in this APC government in the last 2 years?
Why would anybody give me money?
So you are doing this just out of love for Bola Tinubu and the APC?
Okay, I'll give it. No, not just out of love for Bola Tinubu. I'm doing it for love for Nigeria, not love for Bola Tinubu. Okay, right now I'm in Lagos. I don't live in Lagos. Why did I come to Lagos? I came to Lagos because people had spread misinformation about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. I bought tickets with my own money. I came. I gathered journalists from Arise, from Premium Times, from Vanguard, from Silverbird, from Leadership, from Control TV. Then I gathered members of the public, ordinary people, members of the public. I got vehicles for them. I put them in vehicles. I bought drones with my own money. And I said, okay, they can go on drones. And they verified that the road was indeed 30 kilometers complete. Why did I do that? I did not do that for President Bola Tinubu, but I did that for Nigeria. Okay, 2019, when we had the election, INEC postponed the election. A lot of people were stranded. I don't know if you recall, the BBC carried it and they praised me. I got buses with my own money. I got 12 large coastal buses to ferry people who have been stranded because of the election postponement to their homes. While in those buses, I gave them food and I gave them money. So this is patriotism. Nigerians are not used. Let me land. Please, no, let me land. Nigerians are not used to patriotism. So when they see patriotism, they believe that you have to have been paid to be patriotic.
So this is the manner in which I would like us to wrap up this conversation. You have defended and you said this government is doing well and the policies are in the right place. So there are those who will be asking the question, if the policies are right, why are more Nigerians suffering? Why are more people not benefiting directly from what you have described as the good performance of the Bola Tinubu government in the last 2 years? Opposition has said that this government has failed Nigerians in the last 2 years.
Let me answer that question. Now, I'll start with one of the issues that Peter B raised in his interview. He said that people protested when the Naira was 216 Naira to $1. Why aren't people protesting now that the Naira is 1,565 Naira to $1? And it's very simple. The Naira was never 216 Naira to $1. It was never 150 Naira to $1. That was the subsidized Naira. The federal government at that time, beginning from President Obasanjo, even before him, from Shagari, for about 45 years, had been subsidizing the Naira. It got to the point under the Muhammadu Buhari administration that we were spending $1.5 billion subsidizing the Naira every month. Now, this was not money that we had. This was money that we borrowed. As a matter of fact, the Buhari administration borrowed about 38 trillion Naira through what they call ways and means. It was driving this country into debt that we moved from a foreign debt of about 10.7 billion to a foreign debt of about $58 billion by the time Muhammadu Buhari was handing over power to President Bola Tinubu. And President Bola Tinubu said, no, we are no longer going to subsidize the Naira. Let us float the Naira like other countries do. And what happened? When they floated the Naira just sank to 1,565 Naira. And that is because of sound economic policies. Now, Nigeria is now having a trade surplus. What a trade surplus means, for those who don't understand it at home, is that we are now exporting more than we are importing. So our trade surplus for last year was $14.1 billion. What it means is that we sold more than we bought, and the change that we had is $14.1 billion. Why is it? It's because foreign exports are now so expensive to Nigerians that Nigerians are now buying made in Nigeria goods. And because they're now buying made in Nigeria goods, we're now having a trade surplus. But Nigeria used to be the #1 fuel importer in Africa. We are no longer the number one fuel importer in Africa. South Africa has overtaken us. As a matter of fact, we are now the #1 fuel exporter in West Africa. So these policies are working. People can go out and start talking about populism because they want people to be happy, and they know people are ignorant, and they start to tell them that, oh, Naira has collapsed. They don't want to tell them the truth, that the Naira has not collapsed. The Naira has just been floating.
All right. We need to stop there, but I'm very sure that a lot of the PDP supporters be wondering. Some of them have said that PDP is your nightmare. You can't do without talking about PDP.
Oh, how can PDP
that is your greatest nightmare.
Anytime
Reno Omokri hears PDP, you shiver and you are afraid that's their own president, according to the opinion.
Listen to this. I need to respond to that. I mean, how can I be afraid of Peter Obi? Peter Obi is the one that is afraid of me. His spokesman, his official spokesman, Valentine Obianye, his official spokesman, every single day, he is on my Facebook profile, my X profile, and on Instagram, insulting me, attacking me every single day. I challenge Nigerians to go there. Why? Because they are afraid of me.
Why? Why would they be afraid of you? You're not running for president. You don't have the roots as much in Nigeria. You live abroad.
No, but every time Peter Obi lies, I debunk the lies. For example, I was able to bring out facts to counter what he said, that he left $150 million and 36 billion naira. I brought out facts today to prove that, no, this man left a debt profile of 127 billion. So when you subtract what he left from the debts that he had, this man actually left a red for the Anambra State government, not assets.
Reno Omokri is an author, a columnist, and an ex-aide to a former president, Goodluck Jonathan. Thank you so much indeed, Reno Omokri, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sheon, for having me. May God bless you.
Thank you.